In the case of Bitcoin, I mean, it's just, the system is just beautiful. I mean, you have this guy, we don't know who he is, we know his fake name. They invented this thing that it's beautiful in its thinking, and not only because it's free and because it's peer-to-peer or because, but every detail was thought well before it happened. Like for mining, for example. At the beginning, you could mine with your laptop. Now you need all these powerful computer systems. But at the beginning, it was worth, Bitcoin was worth, the worth of Bitcoin was really low. So nobody would invest in these powerful machines. So at that time, the blockchain and the puzzles were simple. And then you just needed your normal equipment. So everybody could invest in that and have these coins that were worth very little. But with time, Bitcoin increased in price. And at the same time, it got more complex and you needed more power in your computer and more, so you need more investment to do that. So nobody would have done the investment if the prices would have gone up, wouldn't have gone up. So this guy or this group of people thought about it like everything would come in place right at the time that it would be needed to go in place. So when you look at everything that has happened since the beginning of Bitcoin till now, you can predict what's going to happen in the future. You know, I don't have to trust you, and you don't have to trust me. It's just that we both trust the system, and it's going to work, and that's going to be good. I mean, if you're a proponent of Bitcoin being used by people and by communities and by countries and by banks and by merchants, you have to be on board of this project. I mean, you can't be if you don't want to. You can, but why would you oppose a project that is aligned with your ideals, that it's aligned with what you think it's good, that you know that it's going to benefit the people? You know, I mean, you don't have to trust me. You have to trust the system. And it's going to be a lot bigger than it is right now, which is quite big, actually. But it's going to be even bigger than what it's now. So I think a lot of, not only countries, but people are switching themselves to Bitcoin. And then you have all of the problems with the current monetary systems. And the Bitcoin system is so perfect that I think it's going to be the future. And why? I mean, El Salvador has not been the country that's recognized to be the first in innovation, but why not this time? So being the first country adopting Bitcoin as a legal tender, it's a good thing for our country. And if you add up the practical reasons, like receiving remittances with at the speed of light and having almost no costs, like you would have with Western Union and those types of systems, having financial inclusion to 70% of the people that doesn't own bank accounts, having a lot of investment in tourism that would come from this, and not becoming independent, because we're not, but at least becoming a little less dependent on the output of new dollars and the new inflation that's coming with those new dollars. We don't perceive any of that. Because when a country prints more money, there's a good side and a downside. The good side or the upside is that the government has more money to spend. The downside is the inflation, because you're just pouring in more money with no basis. But the problem with using an international currency that is not yours to print is that you're only absorbing the cost. I mean, now your dollars are worth less, but you're not getting any of the new printed money because they didn't print it for you. So for a country like ours, and we're not the only country of the world with that reality, I think having Bitcoin as legal tender, even though nobody has done it before, it was a no-brainer. And of course, we will promote the use of it because we don't want them to be left behind the benefits of Bitcoin. So we will promote them to use it, but of course, they will be at their own pace. It's very clean, simple, short, easy to read, easy to understand, nothing hidden. I mean, and totally optable. So you can actually receive US dollars. So how can you complain? I mean, you're receiving what you ask for. You're asking for US dollars, you're receiving US dollars. What's your problem that the other person is benefiting for exchanging his hats? It doesn't make any sense because you have full freedom to choose between Bitcoin or US dollars, and the person paying has full freedom to choose between Bitcoin or US dollars. So it's full freedom for both of them. And it's probably the only system in the world when the payer can pick one of the choices that is different from the seller. And both of them have full freedom. So this is beautiful. It's just like Bitcoin. It's just something made for Bitcoin because it gives full freedom to the seller, but also gives full freedom to the buyer.